Live. We're recording, so you know it's official.
That is true. Here we go.
Hello. Happy Thursday. Is it our first Thursday in December? Second Thursday in December. Hello, everyone. We are here today for our Legends of Be Wealthy call with Megan Morris. She is one of the members of our Be Wealthy mastermind group. She's been with us for about a year, and we're super excited to dive into her world and learn a little bit more about her. So without further ado, just a reminder to everyone, we are live in Facebook as well as in our Zoom call. So if you have any questions and you're in Zoom, you can put them in the chat box. You also, if you are live on Facebook, go ahead and I think it's down below, around, there's somewhere you can put comments. So put comments in there and questions. I know that Megan will be happy to answer any questions you have. She's an open book and happy to pour into the group. So without further ado, let's go ahead and look at this. I already jumped in. I already did the housekeeping. And here is Megan Anderson Morris. Megan!
Yes. I know, I'm a hyphenated person.
Hyphenated person. So tell us a little bit about you. Where do you live? What market are you in? Tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, so we are actually in the Virginia Beach market, so Virginia. And a little bit about me is I was actually in advertising and marketing prior to real estate. And so we had a family best friend that had tried to get me into real estate forever. And it wasn't until we were selling a house and I thought, well, I can do this. And so I got licensed in the process of selling that property. And yeah, so I kind of did a slow transition out of my corporate job and went full time into real estate. I think it was 2013.
Awesome. So 2013, you make the transition. Was it a smooth, by transition, do you mean like gauntlet? One day we're doing this, one day we're doing real estate, or was it kind of back and forth?
Well, the thing about me is I like coming from advertising and marketing. I like everything to be branded and to look right. And I had to have the website and do all of these things. So I was trying to do some of the branding items before. And for our market center, I actually used to be the poster child because I didn't have a closing for 9 months. And quite honestly, it's because I was trying to do all of the things instead of like getting into action. So I was definitely slow for growth, but then year over year, I started getting traction. And but yeah, that first year was brutal.
Yeah. Do you mind if we dive into that a little bit? Because I think that's such an interesting concept. So first is Cova Collective, which is your brand. Mm-hmm. Is that the brand you were working on that you came up with?
So yes, I actually had the LLC when I was just a solo agent. So I kind of knew that I wanted to take it somewhere, but just being a solo agent, and once I got heavier into production, I couldn't get the time to do all the things. So I continue to operate just under my name and so forth. So with that, it actually was kind of kismet. I met Cheyenne Penn, who is actually still on our team. She's one of our lead agents, and we were introduced in the hallways and hit it off. And she said, "Hey, I want to join a team, and I know that that's your end goal. You want to do it." So that was kind of the birth of Cova Collective Realty, and that was in 2016. So at that time, I think I was right around 50 units as a solo agent, and I didn't have an admin, I didn't have a TC, so I was pretty much drowning.
No kidding. But you went from, and that was a pretty fast growth also. It was a slow start, and then it sounds like it was a rather sharp swing into production. So what was that kind of pivot point in the end of 2013 that was like, okay, enough's enough. I need to actually do the thing.
Well, and I think I got so caught up in all the things, and that's honestly one of my weaknesses now, is just like narrowing in on the activity that's going to make the biggest growth or make the biggest impact, because I'm type A, so I like things to be a certain way and they need to be perfect, and some of it's like just get out and do it. So that was really the pivotal moment, is just I need to go on the appointment. It doesn't matter if I have a listing presentation and that it's perfect, this, that, and the other. I need to get on the phone, door knock, what have you. And some, in terms of the agents in the office, I was constantly asking everyone what they did. What did you do? And they were all so different that I would try a little bit here and a little bit here, and it just spun me up. So
You would piecemeal it, and then it
yeah,
didn't make any sense at all. It's a Frankenstein of a business.
yeah.
How does that work now when you see other agents on your team, right? Because it's ultimately, as another type A individual, I love making sure everything's right on,
Mhm.
and that the branding's right and all the pieces are right, and that all the infrastructure is set up prior to doing the income producing activity with said
Mhm.
materials. What do you tell yourself today to kind of clear that? And how does it impact your leadership of others?
Right. Well, I think that's one of the opportunities of being on a team, is because they don't need to do that. It's not their responsibility to put the branding packet together for their buyer's consult and things of that nature. So that's one of the things we actually leverage really well for recruitment. We actually have the systems, we have the things. So it's been a big piece for us in terms of like attracting talent.
Yeah.
They don't need to worry about it. Like,
I
you make
love-
your calls, you go on your appointments, that's it. You have no excuses.
You've taken what I'm going to be bold here, what people would say was your weakness in your first year, and you've made it your strength as a recruiting tool today.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
awesome.
and honestly, that's why Kaleo and I ended up merging, because I had the systems. He wanted to step into a different leadership role, and he was like, hey, who can operate my team at a high level? Who has all the things? So that's kind of how we actually ended up getting connected.
Well, yeah, let's jump into that for a second. So let's take a step back. So 2013, you're just
nothing. Yes.
Fast forward 2 years later, you're a single agent, no support, no leverage, doing about 50 deals per year, which is a lot. And what were the main lead sources for those? Was that sphere of influence that you grew up there, or?
I didn't grow up there, but it really got down to, and I think that's one of my strengths, is once I'm focused in on it, like I'm going to get it done. If it's a priority and if it's a need, or it kind of goes back to like my big why, like I'm going to do the effort and the hard work to get it done. So I didn't really know anyone when I got into real estate locally. So it was door knocking, and there was a period of time where I did 3 networking events a week. Like, it didn't matter what, the week did not end until I had 3 networking events. So and I don't even know if that site's big anymore, but it was like meetup.com. And I would just go on there and be like, hey, who loves dogs? Who drinks wine? Like, what are these people that I can meet that match things that I like? So I really started there. And then my online presence. So I knew from the jump that like I wanted to be very present online.
Okay. When you say present online, what do you mean by that?
So in terms of having a Google page, that was one of the things, 9 years ago, no one really had for their businesses. And I think Daniel Dixon had actually mentioned it at one of the mastermind sessions. And that's something I did early on, was getting reviews, being on Google, so forth. So when people are searching top agents near me, I came up at the top. And
Yelp was a job meetup, and they Google you, and you actually have presence. It gives you the authenticity.
Yes, exactly. So, and having the 5-star reviews, so forth. Yelp was another big one for me too. I did tons of reviews on there. Their algorithms are weird now, but 9 years ago, it worked really well for me.
So I want to ask you this in a couple stages as we go through your business growth. If you were talking to an agent who was having trouble going from that 0 to 50 deals per year, what's the main piece of advice you'd give them?
So even for our team now, we really have a big structure in terms of like, what is our top goal? What are the 3 priorities and the 5 strategies for each of those priorities? And because if not, I have too many squirrel moments because I love new ideas and I get bored. So I need things to like keep me excited, energized. But I think going back to it to be like, hey, these are my priorities. This is how I'm going to move it forward. It keeps me centered on what I should be working on day to day, week to week, month to month. So for us, we're big for agent connections. That's one of the things with Keller Williams. They have a huge like referral network. We're in a military area, so those things make sense for us. And then ours is big for Sphere. We do the whole events and, personal cards, touch points, call nights, things of that nature, since a third of our business comes directly from our database.
Awesome. So in 2016, Cheyenne Penn reaches out to you. I think I said it right.
Yeah.
And she says, okay, I know you're looking to grow a team. I want to be on a team. Let's partner up. How did your roles look? What did it look like at the beginning? And then how did it kind of evolve over the next few years?
Yeah, so that's one piece of advice I would give people is like, get your system down earlier than later, because when you're scaling, it's usually out of pain. You're in a growth moment, you're too busy, things of that nature. So like in the beginning, when I brought Cheyenne on, I had her kind of as an assistant, and looking back, I'm like, that probably wouldn't have been my first hire. It would have been great to have her as a showing assistant or something of that nature. But she helped me build some of the templates and email campaigns, things like that. But it took a while because she was a brand new agent. And at that point, I think there was 1 month I had 15 closings. And so for a new agent to then be doing transaction coordination on that was overwhelming.
Sure.
Yeah.
Completely brand new. So what was your net? If you today hired Cheyenne, you said you'd have her probably be a showing assistant. So if someone's looking at the first year, that's where you would start.
Yeah. Because then you can leverage the showing piece, which is, a lot of time in the car, so forth. And then you can just do a showing fee type of model. So you're not having the salary, the things of that nature that get a little bit more burdensome. You can pay them as you need them.
Yeah, it's more of a variable. It's funny because I hear in a lot of different seminars and trainings and things that I've been to over the years, the first hire you should make is just the executive assistant. You're right. It's overhead, training time, a few other pieces that don't give you all of your time back, helps you to scale all of your time back. And both you and Andrew mentioned, Andrew McCarger was on last week with us, Wealthy, and he went into that was the greatest thing that really changed his life when he realized he'd never have to go and show a buyer a home.
Yeah.
That changed his life. And he said from that point on, leverage became the greatest thing for him.
Well, and too, there's so many resources out there where you can do a TC by need. I don't know if Hello leverages across all states, but I know that's one of the companies that you can hire them for one transaction or to kind of look like they're on your team. So again, you can kind of hire them when you need them, because I feel like when you're scaling, that's always the big the anxious part is, oh my gosh, now I have this person's salary, I'm tied to them, responsibility over their income. And that can be a lot when you're in that growth mode and you're not sure exactly where you're going. So
because it usually coincides with right when you first got oxygen on your own mouth.
Yes.
And you're like, wait a minute, I just started being able to breathe. And I'm going to be responsible for them. Can both of us breathe?
Right.
It's just was it luck that I've had these great few months? Is this the right time?
Exactly.
For sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's probably the scariest hire, no questions asked.
Yeah.
So walk me through. So now you have her as your assistant, and where does the team kind of grow from there? When does Kaleo come in? How does that all
Yeah.
work?
So we were together, and she's still with me, but it was pretty much just she and I, and then we hired executive assistants, TCs, kind of different people along the route. And then it was in 2019 that I think we started really entertaining more of the merge. And that's because we were consistent in doing about 130 transactions between the two of us. And I had a baby that year in May, and we had 36 closings in May. And so it was like in labor, I'm on the computer typing up offers. It was insane. So it really was more of an awakening moment for me to be like, all right, we are not doing things right, you know? Yes, literally, my husband has a picture of me like on the bouncy ball in labor, talking to Cheyenne, like my computer out. So that was kind of more one of those moments like we can't continue to do this. Like, you want to have a family, it's not good for us. So and then with COVID, our market centers actually connected like a couple of us that were in similar production or mindset, things of that nature. That's how I got introduced. Well, I had met him before, but like really introduced to Kaleo. And so we always say we kind of like business dated 2019. Pretty much he asked me to merge for 6 months straight. I'm like, no, you're crazy. You're crazy. And then 2020, is that, I'm trying to think of the numbers, 2021, we kind of did a soft merge of us on the back end. We were still separate in terms of our businesses. We tracked everything separately, but frontward facing, we were one team.
Sure.
And that went really well in 2021. So we officially merged this year.
Great. And what does the team look like today? What is the
Yeah.
business?
Yeah. So we really started working on this partner model. So we have a couple agents that perform at really high levels. And so we thought, okay, if we were a top agent, and what would they need? Leverage. You know, they don't want to go out and show the houses anymore, open the doors, do the home inspections. So on our team, once you're at 50 units or more, then you get a partner agent. And there's kind of different structures of how they run it, but generally speaking, like that person is the runner, and the lead agent then becomes more contract negotiation, customer service, things of that nature, and frees them up time to do lead gen.
That's a great retention tool. Great tool to motivate on the way up, and then a great retention tool from I need leverage or I'm going to just go do this on my own. It's no, you can let us put these in place for you. I really like that. I think
so. Just as an example, Cheyenne was pregnant and did 94 units with her partner agent, and probably left the house all of 5 times. So
there's something going on in the water over there. When girls get pregnant where you're from, they're the most productive humans of all time.
Right. It's
they're selling for 2, apparently.
Yes. But yeah, so I mean, for that, it made sense for the partner agent too, because she made 6 figures, which is the most she's ever made. Cheyenne had the leverage piece, opportunity to be at home, to work less hours, things of that nature. So that was kind of our first example of really putting that into motion, and they both loved it. So that's really how we've kind of been scaling the team. So it's a good retention item for us in terms of those lead agents that if they typically got to that amount of volume, they'd probably be going off on their own. So it gives them that leverage, and it's kind of an in-house training method too, because that lead agent is responsible for training the partner agent.
That's exactly right. Great leverage piece for you internally.
Yeah.
When you look at your organization, we're getting to know you. We got to know Kaleo a couple weeks ago. You're very systems based.
Yeah.
And I think it is unbelievably obvious that Kaleo is unbelievably relationship based.
Yes.
Is a great partnership in marriage. Business marriage.
I'm the one that always makes people cry. So, I'm the the bad cop.
How do you, what is the accountability or what are the standards to be on the team? Because I have a feeling you both would come from very different standpoints on that. So how did you kind of agree and create a culture of the standards along with the value proposition that you would provide, bringing the best of both of these worlds together?
Well, and honestly, that was a lot of 2021 was going through to be like, hey, how does this work in terms of lead distribution, requirements for our daily huddles? Like what are the culture pieces and the accountability metrics? So for us, our model has been full-time agents. We may explore military division since that is a big component for our market that might have some different standards. But for us right now, it's full-time agents. And then generally their first year is 24 units. Second year, they should scale to 30. And then from there, 50 with the opportunity of the partner agent. We kind of operate on a 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 model, meaning a third comes hot, fresh from the team. A third comes from lead generation, team activities, open houses, sign calls, things of that nature, them doing calls. And then a third of the expectation is coming from their database, their sphere.
Perfect. Do they have effort metrics that you're tying them to, or how do you help to encourage them the right activities to get to those results?
Yeah, so we do monthly coaching with our agents and kind of walk through that 411, which is kind of breaks down the year goal, the monthly goal, and then each week goes through to set it up. So they know they need 2 database ads per week. They need 1 nurture per day. I mean, it's spelled out. And then they have to submit their numbers every day at 12 or between 12 and 12:30 so that we can kind of go through and see who did it.
Sure. See who's performing and who's not. Do you have the ability for your agents to work remotely, or do you encourage them to come in, or is it a hybrid? Did that change over time?
Some of that has kind of shifted. We were more flexible last year, and then our numbers were not where they needed to be. So we changed and said, nope, like got to be in the office during lead gen efforts, just to make sure that we could kind of monitor who is actually doing the things. Because on Zoom, how do you know? Like they could show up to Zoom, but then you're not listening to their calls. So for us, we did have to kind of change that the last 6 months of this year. Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people, well, I mean, you hear it on the news. Tim Cook and Elon Musk are having the same problems. So I always like to go, if Apple's having similar supply chain issues that we're having, it makes me feel better, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's so funny. So what is the future? You talked about, as far as growth for y'all, potentially doing a military branch.
Mm-hmm.
What does growth look like, or what is 2023? What are you and Kaleo as you're looking into next year? What are you guys really?
So we have made some changes on the team. So I've always been in production. So even last year I did 92 units for like 30 some million. And that was great for our numbers, but then also too, from a leadership perspective, when you're doing that heavy of production, something has to give. And it was more on the leadership side. Sure. So I am taking a step back. I have X amount of units volume that I'm allowed to do. And then after that, I'm done. So to really kind of refocus on all the things and building potentially this military division. in recruiting and things for that. So right now we know that we need to grow by at least 3 producing agents. And that was one of the fun exercises we actually did, was go through and look at our GCI goals compared to our average sales price and really build it out. So it was like, hey, we need 3 more bodies in order for us to even like hope to achieve our goal. So getting clear on those numbers has really helped like put back the focus of like, hey, we need 3 agents that are going to be doing X amount of units in 2023. So we know that we need 3 agents. We filled 2 of the positions in terms of a partner agent and then another agent that was in production. So
awesome. When you guys look to partner with agents, you have, especially in our Be Wealthy Mastermind, you listen to all the different standards around recruiting, right? And it's like, I don't care if they have a pulse, come. As long as they're willing to show up and do the work. And then you have some agents who are like, hey, I have a smaller, more intimate boutique team. And what I'm looking for are 3 key players that are going to have these specific roles. Where do you in Kaleo, when you say like 3 producing agents, I know what those numbers look like. What else is important to y'all in what you're looking for, or how do you determine the right people to grow with?
So we honestly kind of do like a team vet. And Kaleo does the initial interviews, kind of onboarding conversations for accountability, team structure, commission, and then they go to lunch with our team, and they're the ones that kind of get a vibe check. So there's been a couple that, in all honesty, have been in production and they weren't a good fit. You know, our agents came back and be like, oh, I don't know if I could hang out with her all day, you know, and to us, we're like, no, you know, we'll pass on that, just because we are smaller and close knit. So for us, we are not the ones to just like agent. They really have to vibe and have the culture of the team. So we're kind of different than a lot of the heavy recruitment teams.
Well, and I think it's all, at the end of the day, it's all the numbers game, right? So you're super clear. I did the numbers. I need 3 agents. I'm just going to be really specific on who those 3 agents are. But I won't rest till I have the 3 agents and they're the right fit.
Exactly.
Yeah. Some of the teams who have, our team, I'll put it that way. Andrew, for example, inside of our hub location, so inside of just Mesa, he knows he has specific standards to reach specific goals. He doesn't have the luxury of picking 3 specific, because he needs 3 every week.
Right. Oh, jeez.
Right.
Yeah.
So, well, he needs 2 every week. So he doesn't quite have that luxury. And so because of that, we've grown in a bigger way that has allowed a different type of culture where anyone can win here. You know, if you work, it's
all on how you sell it, what you have to sell to them. I mean, I think both work really well, and for ours, it's just not a quantity pool, you know, so.
I think it's awesome. I absolutely love it. I also love how clear you are in the vision and what the process looks like to get there. I think it's super fun. Can I ask you a couple personal questions?
Yeah.
We start business personal first. So when you said you and Kaleo were business dating, what were you guys looking at in each other, and what were you evaluating? And the reason I ask is because I think so many people go like, Megan, I think you're great. I love you. I love wine. I love dogs. We have so much in common, and we're both in real estate, and we're both super stressed out and could use a partner. We should partner together. And the next thing you know, you merge your entire companies, and sometimes it works great and sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
Encourage everyone to go really slow, have a dating process, operate on operating agreements. You guys did all of that, which is incredible. Walk us through what that looked like and what you were evaluating from your perspective.
So a lot of it was kind of values, morals, values, work ethic was a huge thing because for me, I'm a workhorse. So I didn't want to feel as though I was working more or bringing more, contributing more. So that was kind of a bigger evaluation piece, I think, for me is like, does this guy actually show up in the office? Does he do the things? Because I didn't want to attach us to each other. And then 2 years later, so that was a big piece. And then just kind of how he treated his team, how he ran it. Was it consistent? Were the numbers consistent or at least in growth mode? So that was another big piece. And kind of in terms of our like dating time, we just met all the time. And it was simple things of like going to each other's office and, he would be leading his team and I would just kind of be observing and vice versa. We set up a lot of meetings with me and his agents and he wasn't there and vice versa. So just kind of really getting into relationship because I didn't know him very well before the conversation started.
I think the term you used, the dating, makes so much sense.
Mhm.
Like you may, but you probably shouldn't just run to Vegas and get married to someone that you met last week, right?
Right.
So business-wise, is that any different? You want to go maybe visit their home for the holidays and see
Right.
what crazy looks like on Christmas.
Yeah.
You
Well,
want to
and it's a $1 million plus business. So to me, I just wanted to make sure we still had the same long-term goals and growth metrics and things of that in mind too. So
That's awesome. So, the other question I wanted to ask you was, you're a mom, you're a wife, you're a business partner, you're leading the team, and you're still in production. Yeah. So you have a lot of spare time.
Yeah, lots of spare time.
Eating bonbons on the couch, no problem.
Yes.
And how do you balance? I think a lot of people who are listening to this that I see the names and I know a lot of you. A lot of people are in this player coach role where they're still on the field, they're still taking appointments, they're still out there, they're still in production. They're looking to scale, grow the business, recruit talent, get them into production to eventually be able to step out. And at first, I think of it like a pendulum, like here's full out of production, here's full in production, like full coach, full player. And at first you're swinging really far, right?
Yeah.
And it feels totally out of control. And then slowly you can tighten it up and it moves over to the other side. You are kind of halfway, right? You've identified, okay, I'm going to start taking another step out. What advice do you give? What challenges do you see? And what does your path forward kind of look like there?
Right. So mine has been kind of, I don't like to give up on things and I hold on. And some of it was income related. Like I was in a top earning position. So even to do the merge, it took me so long because I felt like I was giving up. And it took me a while to have the right mindset of no, like I'm gaining leverage and partnership and resources to different opportunities, things of that nature. So some of that is like my production, I know I can only do 23 units. Like that's kind of around about where I am for next year. And it's taken me a long time to get there because I'm like, what am I going to do with all my free time? Like, I like to be busy. And that's how I find fulfillment is working. So for me, it was trying to go through and identify like, what does a day in the life of Megan look like if I'm not on listing appointments or having to make sales calls, things of that nature. So I really had to get more clear on what other things I wanted to put my time to. So the investment side of our business, we launched that this year. So that's been something that has been really exciting for me to get involved in. And I've done, a handful of flips and I really do love that. So some of that is like, okay, now I can have less production time over here, but I can go through these other avenues. So that's what I would say is like, don't just say I'm getting out of production, production to do what?
Right. To do
Yeah.
what other income producing activities with
Well,
my
that's me. I mean, if people want to retire and do the beach life, but you know.
That's really funny. So tell us a little bit about, you guys just launched the investment side of your business.
Mhm.
Walk through, what did that look like? Is that something that you thought about for a long time? How did you get started on the actual launch?
Yeah. So, in honesty, I call it the dark side because I'm like, I knew nothing of the investment arm world of real estate. And so that's one of the things I honestly kick myself on repeatedly because I'm like, why didn't I know that there was this other side? I had always been trained, like, go in, get the listing, get the sale, and never really framed my mindset for the other ways to use real estate. Because I think my portfolio would be substantially larger if I had started that 9 years ago. So for the investment side, I had done a couple flips and so forth, but it was really in y'all's mastermind that really started it off. And I told Kaleo, I said, if we go to another mastermind and don't have something to talk about in terms of investments, I'm not going. Like, I don't want to talk to people and say, what have you been up to? And have done nothing that y'all have spoken about. So that really is what kind of kicked it off. And there's been so many different people in the mastermind that we've met with that have been a huge resource for us, that have shared their playbooks and their contacts for the mailers. And these Zooms have been incredible for us as well. Cause I'm like, why would we continue to pay money and not do the things? So that was really gave us the kick.
Kind of full circle without planning it.
Yeah.
So in 2013, you spent a lot of time not doing the thing yet.
Yeah. Right.
I got to plan, I got to prepare. But now you're sitting here in 2022. You've been in our world for less than a year and you've already taken action.
Yeah.
So what was the difference of why today? Because arguably people would be more nervous for the investment side. Why was that something that you said, I'm not going to allow this to happen again? And how did you get through that resistance piece?
Yeah. Some of it, just the testimonials, when you've had different speakers at the masterminds and you talk to them and you're like, well, they're doing it, like, I know we can, we have those resources. And, I am a big, an paralysis by analysis. I have to have all the information and find out all the things. And at many moments I have to stop and just be like, we'll figure it out all along the way, like, let's just go ahead and get started. So there was an agent on our team that we felt was really good for more of the acquisition role, just in terms of his mindset, demeanor, things of that nature. So we kind of made him the who, here's your resources, you go and put it together, you build it out. So that really made it manageable versus typically I would always want to be the person doing. And now I know I don't need to be. I need to just find the who to do the what. Yeah.
Yep. It's so funny. Brett and I had a call earlier today, and Cindy and I talk about it all the time. If we can give tons of information, but until our group, our members, our people take the action and see the results, we've never won. So our win is to see you take the action, get the result, and then continue to grow your wealth.
Right.
And so to see you take action so quickly is so inspiring to us to want to continue to bring more and more value to help you to move more quickly. So
yeah.
It's
and
awesome.
I love, because even leaving the mastermind last time, I always get so much energy. I'm like, I need to merge HVAC companies and, just do all these things and
then scale them at a higher multiple. Let's go.
Yeah. And some of it, I just go back and I have my workbooks and I just periodically go back to revisit them because maybe, at that time that self-directed IRA was way above my head. Well, fast forward a year, I'm in that space now. So even if it wasn't an action item, a year ago, 6 months ago. I think it's good to have those to continually like reference back. And I really like how y'all did it this time of the hard money loan, really taking it and chunking it down, because to me, that is really helpful because I like to have the system and to know the answers and things of that nature. So that gets me to action a lot quicker too.
I appreciate that feedback, and we will work to continue to do that versus just
Yeah.
here's the big idea, go do it.
Right.
Here's the results, lose
Yeah.
yourself.
Yes.
Instead of that saying, and then specifically, here is your checklist.
Yeah.
Here's
Because
your
there's some incredibly smart people in that group, and they're just like, yeah, you didn't know about this, you just do it. And yeah.
my joke with Brett is I always go, yeah, and then just zip, zip, zoom, off it happens.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
nobody knows, it's like that
Yeah.
Seinfeld episode, yada, yada, yada. And it's like, you yada, yada,
Yeah.
the best part. I don't know the details.
Yeah.
Well, he was
And at
yada,
the
yada,
same-
cover something inappropriate. But anyway.
At the same time, it's still motivational, because even if I'm not at that point, it's for me to be in those spaces and have those contacts and so forth. It still continues to drive and push, even if I'm not on the same action course they are. So it still provides a benefit.
Megan, you're being very humble. You are on the path. You are on the action plan. You are executing and you're crushing it. It just so happens a couple of those people were in there a couple more years. So they're
Yeah.
trying to get further along, but you're already taking huge action and executing in an incredible level. So
Thank
be
you.
humble.
The retail side, I feel good about. I need the dark side. I need the investment.
Well, let's jump in. I have a couple of my favorite questions that I like
Okay.
to ask each of our guests. And then if y'all have questions for Megan, please put them in the chat or go ahead and place them on Facebook and we'll go ahead and get them answered. What is the book or books you recommend most? What book has had and second part, what book has had the greatest impact on you in the last 12 months?
So that's a good question. Kaleo makes fun of me because I never finish books ever. And on our team, I do, because we have our daily huddles every morning at 8:30. We have our book reading. So for those, I'm tied to finishing. But in general, so I subscribe to that app Blinkist a lot. Because it's just the high points for me, like to read 400 pages to get the 5 takeaways, just give me the 5 takeaways. But one of my favorite books has been 4DX. It's the 4 disciplines of execution. That to us in terms of team and even for myself has been really a huge impact, because it goes through and identifies what are your lead measures, what are your lag measures, what are you really tracking to move things forward.
Totally.
Yeah, so that would be kind of one of my ones where I was like, oh, okay.
I totally agree with that.
Most of the team likes the energy bus, and those aren't my thing. So
you're more tactical.
Yeah.
That's great. And then what is my checklist?
Yes. Yeah.
What do I checklist the energy bus? And it's that's motivation.
Yes.
That's funny. What purchase of $100 or less has the most positively impacted your life recently?
Well, the recently piece is but we use this platform called CTE, the Commitment to Excellence. I don't know if you've heard of it, but on the retail team side, I think it's been huge because it really allows us to track accountability metrics. You put in your goal and it has this little, ticker to let you know how far above the line you are, how far below your goal. You can put in your lead gen. So for a smaller team, I think it's been great because it keeps that accountability piece. You don't have to do all the spreadsheets and tracking. It has it all very visual with graphs and so forth.
We've used CTE for years. I'm a big fan of Calvin Mergen. He did a great job.
Yeah. Yep.
For sure. The scoreboard component in general, not only for the team, but the individuals on the team, is incredible.
Yeah.
how has a failure or apparent failures set you up for later success? Do you have a favorite failure story? I feel like you wouldn't. I feel like you're perfect.
No, 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 no. I would say the failure to trying to think of how to word it. So failure for mindset around money, because I grew up really poor and food stamps and that whole lifestyle. And so the failure to really like use money as a tool. So even when I first started getting into production, it was like, I got to keep it all. Like, I don't know when it's going to go again. So I've kind of even been on a journey of switching my mindset and framing around money, and that it's replaceable. If I lose it on a bad investment, so forth, like I can get it back, so I would say the failure to really, like, I missed so many different opportunities because of fear around it or being scared. And so not that I'm frivolous with it now, but I have a greater appreciation that it is replenishable.
Yeah. How did you, or what tools do you use to kind of help with that? Because I don't think you're unique in that. I think a lot of us, you're never really trained how to think about money. And especially if you have a different background or money was a big portion of your background in either side, come to decision making around money kind of funky. How do you rewire your brain for that?
Yeah. And I would say for me, it's been creating new circles. So really surrounding yourself with people that are thinking bigger and think that way has really shaped my mindset. Because in terms of how I grew up, well, my mom and dad, they kind of have that same limited mindset for finances. And, unfortunately, they're probably going to work till the day they die. And I've been trying to, get them into action plans and on my investments and things of that nature. And it's a slow battle. But I think just being around people that have a better affiliation with money,
better relationship. True. The 5 people you surround yourself with, you'll be the average of the 5 people. And so picking the right ones is incredibly important, especially when you're trying to switch your hard drive, as I like to say, you're trying to rewire your hard drive.
Yeah.
All right. My last big question for you. If you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, metaphorically speaking, of course.
Yeah.
Basically, you're getting a message out to millions. What would it say?
So it kind of ties in with this one in terms of like, ignore the hustle culture. Money is a tool and not the other way around. So, because I think for many of us, it's like, go, 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 next level, next level, next level. And to me, I think some of it was in having a family of, hey, my daughter is small and she's going to love me really well for 5 years and that's it. And then after that, she's going to hate mom. So, do I want to continue to work the crazy hours and, to accomplish what I think in terms of the goals? So to me, it's kind of, as Brett said, he puts it on his calendar when he's off and he knows he's solid work effort for this chunk of time and that he has that break, that family time or what have you. So that would be mine, like ignore the hustle culture.
Sure. I absolutely love that because I think you're unbelievably driven. You have incredible energy, Megan, incredible energy and kindness. And I can tell any and everything you do, you put your whole heart and soul into it.
Yeah, I do.
So putting those parameters around yourself, knowing that naturally you're not the lazy one who needs hustle harder.
Yeah.
On the flip side, that also, I think there's 2 sides to that. There's the lady that needs the motivation piece. The whole other side of that spectrum, there's the person who can actually really damage themselves by continuing to drive forward for the wrong purpose and to sacrifice the things that they actually do really, really care about at the cost. You know, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a zero-sum game, that work wins, so everything else loses.
Exactly.
And
And
figuring
I think that's the thing. Like I gave up too many family dinners and birthday parties and things of that nature, like chasing this, thing. And so now it is kind of dialing back to say, hey, how can I still work as hard, but be more purposeful for it so that I have this break? Because if not, like I will run and run and run. So have to again kind of retrain myself for that too.
a few rewiring.
A few little things, yeah.
Construction. Well, Megan, I cannot thank you enough for pouring into our group. I always love to see you have a beautiful smile and beautiful energy every time I see you, and getting to know you more today was just an unbelievable treat for me and for everyone else. If people have questions around this program of Scale to Wealth or the mastermind that Megan's a part of, or you have some questions for Megan that you'd like us to help connect you with the right resources, you can go ahead and book a call here. If you have missed some of our past Be Wealthy and Scale to Wealth trainings, and so you're saying like, who is this Kaleo they speak of?
Yeah.
Here in the portal, you can just go right down to Legends of Be Wealthy, and they're all hosted here for you. So Megan's will be posted here shortly if you have someone else in your business you'd like to have watch it. And Kaleo, her business partner, is right here, along with some of our other awesome mastermind groups. So with that, Megan, thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you for having me.
Cindy, thanks for coordinating everything, and we'll see you guys all tomorrow. Andrew will be on with the retail real estate team. We'll talk to y'all soon. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.